Today there might be these kinds of things, but it can change. Happiness is obtained only occasionally and with difficulty. This is Master Shai. This is like, typical Buddhist pessimism. So, if there's one thing that people know, there's two things that people know about Buddhism. One is that, that you kind of like are all about suffering all the time. Keep going on about suffering. And the other thing is that you don't have any God. So, like the suffering thing is like, it's necessary to embrace suffering if you're going to get out of it. It's necessary to notice it. It's necessary to embrace it in the sense of like, not trying to fool yourself into thinking it's something other than it is. Life is problematic. Dukkha, that's why you got dukkha. And to just kind of like hope that if you kind of keep busy enough and, keep going to, ethnic restaurants every night and, just keep yourself amused all the time, that somehow you'll avoid the difficulties of life is no way to plan for them. It's no way to overcome. There's no way to take responsibility for them when they do come and empower yourself to overcome them. You have to first recognize, Houston, we got a problem. Remember that? Houston, they're up there in their rocket ship and it doesn't work anymore or something like that. And they radio back, Houston, we got a problem. And we all got a problem. We got a problem. It's called samsara. And it's no joke. And then the God thing. It's like, come on, we got way more gods than you do in Buddhism. We got gods all over the place. And they go, no, but you don't have the God. You don't have Creator God. And you go, yes, we do. We also have Creator God in Buddhism also. It's me. I'm the Creator God. Of whose world, you suppose? Not of your world, I'll tell you right now, right? Of my world. I'm the Creator God of my world. And who's the Creator God of your world? You. We're all Creator Gods of our own world. Things are coming this way, not this way. Things are coming from us, not at us. And so take responsibility for your awesomeness. You're a Creator God. You created your whole life you've created. So take responsibility for it and say, pretty good. Could be better. I'll try to, we're all kind of like Yahweh's in training a little bit. We're kind of like Yahweh's with training wheels and, and we need a little help creating a better world. But we've always been the creators of our world. No one else has created your world except for you. Let's do a little thought experiment on that, shall we? Does anyone in the room here have an objective view of life? Objective view means kind of God's eye view. Not a view that's not influenced by any kind of prejudice or perspective or a subjective kind of training or positioning. A view of life that isn't a POV. You know what a POV means? Point of view. But as an objective POV, not a subjective POV. Anyone care to raise their hand and say, yes, I have a God's eye view? In which case, that means that we all have subjective points of view. Isn't that right? Is that right? Yes. Everyone going to agree with that? Keep nodding, okay?
Yes.
I'll get you. Keep nodding, I'm going to get you in the corner pretty quickly, okay? So everyone has a subjective point of view, right? No one has an objective point of view. So you could say that the only world that's ever been knowable to you, the only knowable world that you've ever experienced is one that has been filtered through your subjectivity. Is that right? Or yes or no? What do you think?
Yes.
The only knowable world. There may be an objective world. Who knows? I'm not saying that. I'm not going there yet. But if there's an objective world, none of us have access to it. Right? And we don't have an objective view of the world, so there's no objective world. It's just a subjective view of the world. Everyone all right with that? Everyone still all right with that? Somebody's going, wait a minute. Someone's already seeing it coming, so they're going, I'm not going to say yes anymore. So it's the only knowable world there has ever been, and ever will be, for you, is one filtered through your subjective conditioning, through your perspective, through your point of view. Then what would happen if you changed your perspective? What would happen if you changed your subjective conditioning? What would happen to the world?
It would change.
It would change. The only knowable world there ever will be, also known as the world, You know, we could say it either way. The world would change, yes or no? If you change your perspective on it, then the world would change. So who's in charge of the world? See, take responsibility. Take the power that you've always had to change the world. How are you going to do that? What do you need to change the world? What do you think? You have to change you. You have to change your perspective. How do you change your perspective? Can you just kind of go like this and like try and get a different angle on it or something? You just squint and change your perspective? No, of course not. You have to change your sense of self. You have to change your sense of who you are. So now how do you do that? We are who we think we have been. We are now who we think we have been in the past. Isn't it? Yeah? That is when we say me, when we say I. What we're talking about is a bundle of memories, really. Isn't it? Just a bundle of memories. Our self-identity. So what would happen if you changed your memories? You would change your sense of self, which would change your perspective on the world, which would change the world. Okay? So far so good? Still nodding? Yeah? So how do you change your memories? Well, you can do it two ways. You can change the memories that you already have. Can you change the past? Yes or no? What do you think?
Yes.
Of course you can change the past. We change the past all the time. There's no history except for revisionist history. Every time you think about the past, you're thinking about it differently. Yes or no? Yeah? Do you think the past changes? What do you think a historian, a professional historian would say? Can you change the past? What do you think? No. No? You think that a professor at NYU or Columbia would say, in the history department would say history doesn't change? Of course it changes. The accounts of history are changing all the time. Depends on the perspective, right? Depends on who's telling the story. And the stories change over time. The story that they tell about American history is quite different than it was 50 years ago. Quite different. So just like that, you can change your past. You can't kind of like just like make up the facts. You can't just say, oh, I wasn't born where I was, or I wasn't born with speaking the language I did. Not like that. But you can change your interpretation, right? Instead of like holding grudges and being bitter and being angry and not forgiving, for example, you could forgive and let go of all that and live a much more happy life in the present by thinking about yourself in the past differently. Thinking about yourself as a free person from the grudges and bitterness, right? So that's one way to change your self-identity. We are who we think we once were. So change your sense of past. Change your sense of who you think you once were by exercising these kinds of things. Forgiveness and gratitude. Those are the main ones. Forgiveness and gratitude. And then, gift yourself with new memories in the future. When are we creating the memories that we will remember in the future? Now. You see? Now. And if you start living a good life, a clean life, a content life, a happy life, a life that's more interested in others than you are in your own selfish desires and so forth, you will think about yourself differently later. Right? You're gifting yourself with new memories. When instead of thinking about yourself as like being a kind of a crappy person who is just, pushing their way onto the subway and trying to get ahead in life, start thinking of yourself as a person who is, trying to be kind, trying to be generous, trying to be, compassionate. And then you will change you. Okay, so we'll work it all out again. Then you will change your sense of self, right? You'll change your sense of self because you'll think about yourself differently. You've gifted yourself with new memories, which will change your perspective on the world, which will change what?
The world.
The world. Okay? Now, everyone who followed that along, who went like this, all the people who said, I'm not thinking about this anymore, you're off the hook in a way. You can remain deluded and ignorant and all like that. But people who went like this, now the responsibility is on you. See? It's not Barack Obama's responsibility. It's not the Pope's responsibility. It's not the Dalai Lama's responsibility. It's your responsibility to change the world. How? Work it out. Come on, you can do this. By changing you. Okay? By changing you. Makes sense? Yeah. It's easy kind of to say, but it's hard to accept. it's hard to accept that kind of, that's an awesome responsibility, actually. Awesome responsibility, but with awesome power comes awesome responsibility. If we're going to all be Yahwehs, creator gods, then we have to also take the responsibility over our creation. You have to take that responsibility and stop blaming other people. Stop blaming also stop blaming some, transcendental God who lives on Alpha Centauri or something, All right, let's look at the next one. Victimhood is an illusion. This is from the Ashtavakra Gita. Is there anyone who doesn't know the Ashtavakra Gita? This is a really amazing text. Ashta means 8, as you know, from Ashta Anga. And Avaraka means crooks, crooked limbs. He was the sage with the 8 crooked limbs. And the Gita, of course, means song, like in Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is the song of the Lord. Ashtavakra Gita is the song that the guy with 8 crooked limbs sings. And actually it's a song that's sung as a duet. It's a conversation between the sage, Ashtavakra, the teacher, and his pupil named Janaka, who's a king. And for those of you who know the Bhagavad Gita, it's a very interesting contrast. In the Bhagavad Gita, there's a similar kind of a conversation between a student and a teacher, right? Between Krishna and Arjuna. But that conversation goes on forever. Like 18 chapters of Arjuna going, I don't get it, I don't understand, what, huh? And Krishna going, well, how about this, how about this? And then, what? In the Ashtavakra Gita, Janaka, the student, asks one question. So basically, like, how should I live? How do I live a good life? And his teacher gives him about 18 verses of an answer. That's chapter 1. And chapter 2 begins with the phrase, aho. That's Janaka says, aho. What do you suppose that means? Aho.
True.
Aha. It means aha. It's true. I get it. Aho means I get it. Whoa. It means whoa. OMG, And that's all he needs to hear. Just, a few verses, a few words from the teacher, and boom, he's done. And then the rest is just a kind of conversation between equals. And that also is the goal of a spiritual life. To have a teacher teach you and get you to the level that the teacher's at. So that then it's just a conversation between equals. It's not to keep you in a hierarchized position for the rest of your, lifetimes, forever. It's not to infantilize you. It's not to keep you down. That's not the purpose of any kind of teaching, actually, spiritual or otherwise, right? The purpose of a good teacher of anything, academic teacher, a music teacher, a spiritual teacher, is happy when they see their student rising. You see? It means that they're learning, and are especially happy when they reach equality with the teacher, and are extremely happy if they become better than the teacher. Extremely happy, because then the teacher has really done their job. They created a better teacher, and that's the goal. And any teacher who doesn't have that goal in mind is not a good teacher. A teacher who is trying to keep you in an infantilized, inferior position for your whole experience with that teacher is not a good teacher. A teacher is a good teacher if they're trying to make you free, including free of the relationship with the teacher, if you see what I mean. Yeah, the hierarchized relationship, at least. In Sanskrit, there's a very, very important Sanskrit term, Kalyana Mitra. Kalyana Mitra. Mitra means friend. Kalyana is usually translated as spiritual friend. It's not Kalyana dictator. Kalyana like big cheese. It's Mitra, your friend. It's supposed to be your friend, spiritual friend. So I'm going to end class with something about the Guru if I ever get to it. Okay. But since I didn't get to it yet, that'll be a little tidbit. Okay.